Thank you so much for letting me be a part of this, and I'm super excited to share my story because I actually don't really talk about how I got started and kind of the journey that I've been through very much at all. So I'm excited to share it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Polymath YouTube channel where we're going to talk about artist spotlights, business tips, tutorials. We've gone through the headaches so that you guys don't have to, so stick around. Today's artist spotlight is with Mark Wilson from Backspace.tv. The dude is crazy talented, so make sure you stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, help us out. And without further ado, here's Mark, everybody. Thanks. Please say hello to the people watching from home, Mark.
Hi. Hello, everybody.
So Mark's a really cool dude, everyone. Thank you so much for being on, man. I really appreciate your time. I've got some questions we're going to run through with Mark, but the first one I want to ask you, and I sent him questions ahead of time, but I do want to trip you up a little bit here with some new ones.
Sure, okay.
Let's just start with like an off the wall. What is something that no one else knows about you? Is there anything like just no one knows about you?
Yes, but let's get to that when I kind of explain my story and everything. But yes, definitely, I have a great answer for you.
Okay, perfect. All right. So for anyone watching out there, Mark does he owns his own company called Backspace TV. The dude is sickly talented, like insanely talented. He does really cool work. But so let's dive into that. So Mark, how did Backspace.tv get started?
Sure. So in order to kind of explain that, I need to give you a little bit of backstory about my journey into this industry and how everything happened and how I got started. So initially, I went to college for like graphic design, and I wanted to be like a web designer, web developer. And I quickly realized that's not at all what I want to do. So I was at a design conference in Chicago, and I was flipping through their like brochure, and I ended up seeing an ad. And it was I think it was for a Nike shoe or something, but it had all this really cool, intricate, like 3D work that was done to it. And I just knew, I was like, that's what I want to do. I need to figure out how to do that. So I ended up getting in touch with the company, or the owner of the company who produced that ad. And that studio has already been chewed. So I ended up writing Barton an email, and I basically just said, hey, I don't have any experience in this, like at all, but I know this is what I want to do, and I'm about to graduate college. Can I come work for you? I'll work for free, but just let me work for you and learn and go through that. So he said, yeah, absolutely. So I moved down to Texas. I lived out of an extended stay hotel for 30 days, and I worked for free, and I was doing tutorials, and I was asking questions. I'm sure I was super annoying, but I was trying to get as much like knowledge as I could. So I did that, and then kind of that internship kind of ended, and I ended up going back to graduate. And I talked to Barton, and I basically said, hey, I'd love to keep doing this. I'd love to keep working for you, but I can't do it for free anymore. Do you have like an apprentice program or anything like that? And he's like, yeah, we do. It's a 6-month program. It is paid. And we'd love to have you be a part of it. But there's no guarantee of a job or anything like that afterwards. So yeah. I said, okay. I went home. I graduated college with like a graphic design degree. And then I packed everything into my little Civic, and I drove to Texas, and I found an apartment. I didn't have any furniture. I literally just had an air mattress and my laptop and like a TV, and that was it. And most people probably shouldn't do that because I had no guarantee of a job or anything like that. And I didn't know how long I was going to be there. But so I was like, okay, but let's just do this. So I did. And 3 months into the Apprentice Program, Bart offered me a full-time position. I ended up working there for 3 years, learning as much as possible. And then just after I turned 24, I was diagnosed with liver cancer. And yeah, and that was out of nowhere. I mean, people who are 24 don't get cancer.
Right.
And so being so far away from, my family and everything like that, I was like, man, like I have this job that I really love. We work on amazing projects. It's a great place to work. But I just feel like for my own like mental and physical health, I need to move back to where like my family and my support system is. So I made probably the hardest decision I've ever made in my life, which was I ended up leaving that job, and we left on great terms and everything like that. And still friends, and I still work with them occasionally. So, but yeah, so my hand was kind of forced in that, and I felt like I needed to move back, and I had zero plan of what I was going to do. No job lined up, nothing. And I felt like I couldn't work a 9 to 5 because I needed that flexibility to go to doctor's appointments and stuff like that. So I was like, well, I guess I have to figure out how to freelance. So I started making connections, and then that's kind of how Backspace was born. It was just out of necessity and kind of grew organically.
So there's a few things in there I wanted to talk with you about. We don't have to stay on each subject long, but liver cancer, that's huge. I had no idea. That's the thing that no one knows about you, I guess?
Yep. I typically don't really talk about it that much. But yeah, absolutely. I went in to the ER I ended up having kidney stones, and they did like a CT scan or something like that. And the nurse or doctor came in and was basically like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but you have a golf ball sized tumor in your liver, and you probably need to get that checked out. And I was like, oh, shoot, like, okay. So after going through a bunch of tests and stuff like that, they found out it was like cancerous, and it was a whole process.
Oh my gosh. So, I mean, okay. I mean, I don't want to focus the whole thing on that, but that is a huge deal. I mean, where are you today with it? Are you better? Are you, what's going on? What's the current state?
Yes. So I am better. I have to have periodic checkups. Actually, I have one at the end of July that I need to go to, but they ended up removing a portion of my liver last year. Yeah, so a big old scar and a couple on the side too, and but we should be good to go now. So I'm feeling great.
Jeez,
a good place to be. But yeah, it was definitely an unexpected thing, and it totally changed like the course of my life, or how I thought my life was going. So
yeah, it's not funny, but it's a weird coincidence. Kevin Gottrod, who is another really talented dude in Cincinnati. He didn't have liver cancer, but he's had multiple like brain surgeries.
Wow, really?
And like, yeah, like suddenly I'm sitting here thinking like, man, I need to have like something major wrong with me so I can be as talented as you guys.
Oh man, that's good. I'll have to talk to him. That's interesting.
Yeah, he's actually had, and I'm gonna have him on too, but he's had like bone grafts, I think. Like they actually like shaved off a piece of his skull and stuff. He'll tell us about it, I'm sure. But yeah. Another thing I wanted to talk about real quick too was you've mentioned Barton Dammer and Already Been Chewed. So for anyone out there, I don't know if the students are listening. This is golden content, by the way, if you're a student. But Already Been Chewed is a amazing studio in Texas. I think Wiley, Texas, right?
Yep.
Run by Barton Dammer. Barton is a killer, motion designer in his own right, and he has grown this company from the ground up, and it's awesome. I mean, he has stacked it with top talent. I mean, Mark was there. Mark, Fancher, is that how you say his name?
Yep.
Just a roster of really good dudes. So check out Already Been Chewed. It's amazing that you worked there. I'm sure you told me that, and for some reason it never stuck, but now I'm like floored. So really cool. Anyway, so we'll get back to the story here a little bit. So why did you choose to be an animator? What was it, I guess, about graphic design that turned you off, but maybe turned you on for animation?
I feel like 3D specifically, but also 3D and animation, I feel like is a little bit more challenging, I guess, if that's the right way to put it. It's more like problem solving. I tackle my projects and I think that they're like puzzles, and I try to find creative ways to solve those puzzles, and that's what really engages me and really gets me excited and is fun.
Yeah, it's for me, I'm in a similar boat. So my degree is in graphic design, and I pretty early on realized I didn't want to do that the rest of my life. But to me, design can be so subjective, and like, I mean, there is an objective, critique that you can certainly do on design work, but it seems like 3D is more of like you're almost like a construction worker, right? Like you're almost like building a house. Like you have a goal in mind, and then you need to go build it and make it beautiful. I feel like maybe there's less subjectivity to 3D. I don't know. Maybe that's wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I like, I feel like when I was working in like a more 2D element, I would get locked into the same kind of style.
Yeah.
And with 3D, I feel like I can do a whole bunch of different styles, and I don't know, it allows me to diversify, I think, a little bit easier for me personally.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. One of the big things that drew me to 3D was that you can create something and then reuse it, right? Like if I'm drawing a picture, right? If I'm a little kid growing up and I'm drawing Spider-Man or the Green Goblin, like when you're done, that's the photo, that's the drawing. Like what you see is what you get. But with 3D, like if you built that same scene, like if I built Spider-Man fighting the Green Goblin, I mean, we can rotate cameras, lighting, like, you just do so much with it. It becomes such a flexible tool.
Definitely.
Okay, cool. So so animation gets you excited. So you were at ABC, you left ABC obviously because you wanted to be closer to your family and stuff. Why? That kind of answers why you're a freelancer, but why start Backspace.tv? Why not just stay Mark Wilson for hire?
Sure. I think there's two main reasons. One, the most prominent being that I'm naturally just an introvert. I'm not very outgoing. So in order to, it's kind of like I have the guise of Backspace as an entity that is itself that I can then market. And it's easier for me to talk to people that way. I also feel like there's more room to grow when you're viewed as a company or an entity, and you're brought on by agencies or other clients. You're not so much viewed as a tool as you are a freelancer. So a freelancer, in my mind, fits into an existing pipeline. But if you bring in a business or an entity, they specialize in one thing and they control that thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think on a similar note for myself, in my experience, as a freelancer, people would constantly try to bring me in-house, right? Like they would try to set me down at a desk inside of their building. And I think what people learn pretty quick when you do freelance is you can take on as much work as you want. I mean, if you don't want to sleep, you can make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
So what I didn't like was I would be sitting down at like Lightborn, right? And I would have other clients calling me for work. And I mean, my first priority is Lightborn because they currently, have me hired and I'm working there. But I felt bad. Like I felt gross taking phone calls, in the next room about a new project or something.
Yeah.
So I eventually got to the point where I was like, okay, I need my own studio or at least my own space. And ideally I would just do all the work from that and I wouldn't be doing on-site work anymore.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that similar for you?
For sure. Yeah. And I think especially, first moving back and just getting started into freelance, working out of a studio for a week or 2 weeks or however long the project lasted was not something that was going to be viable for me because I needed days off and whole days off because I was having to travel down to Cincinnati or Columbus to go to these hospitals. And so I couldn't do that. Commuting from Dayton, that takes up, a whole day. So, and sometimes I'd have to do that 3 times a week. And that's just too much to tell somebody. And
wow.
But if I can do the same project, but just work at night, which I'm a night owl, so that works for me. It doesn't impact the timeline or the quality of work in any way, but it's just I'm not able to work during business hours typically.
Yeah, you have that flexibility as entrepreneur or freelancer that you can shift your hours around whatever you need to do. I mean, if hospitals or if the doctor's only in from 9 to 5,
Right.
that's when you need to go, and then you can come home and work. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Do you get the sense that positioning yourself as Backspace attracts like larger clients and larger projects?
I don't think so. And I try to focus more on the right client and the right project, and working on projects that, I'm excited about and I'm passionate about, as opposed to like, I mean, don't get me wrong, it would be great to have Nike come over and be like, hey, we want you to work on this project. Super awesome. But also at the same time, I enjoy working with smaller businesses, or even just businesses that, I'm working on a project that I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I want to stay up late and work on it because I want it to be extra great,
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny for me to hear you say that, because for those listening and watching, I've actually hired Mark recently on a project, and I won't say any names or anything, but my God, it's a nightmare project. So that it's just funny to hear you say, if it's exciting, you're willing to put in the extra effort and stay up late. And this project is not exciting. Like we are ready for this one to be done. Like I'm so over it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so moving on. How do you sell yourself? How do you get new business? Is it mainly word of mouth? Are you still working for Barton at ABC?
Yeah, right now it's mostly word of mouth. I've been working really, really diligently over the past, I'd say, couple of months, trying to put together like marketing materials and stuff like that for Backspace itself, to then go out and kind of pitch to potential clients or anything like that, or spread the word about Backspace.
Yeah. Okay. What are you doing anything to get that? I mean, word of mouth is word of mouth, but are you doing anything above that, I guess, like any sort of Google ads or?
Sure. Yeah, I'm not running any Google ads. I thought about it. I've known a couple of people that have done it and weren't super happy with the results. But that's only a couple of people that I've talked to, so I don't know. But I haven't done that. I'm always on LinkedIn, or I have this thing where like I'll see a company or a commercial for a company, or I'll be on Instagram or whatever, and I'll see something like, oh, I got to remember to write that company name down, and then later, usually at night, like before bed, I'll go and just scour LinkedIn and try to find people that are connected and just try to make connections.
Yeah. I try to find some big like global companies that are local, so like I found out Gorilla Glue was local, Cincinnati. I'm like, oh, that'd be a cool project or a cool client. So I kind of target those people for myself. But yeah, it's like Google ads and that stuff doesn't seem to work. You almost have to just do some targeted LinkedIn searching.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, yeah. Let's see here. So do you actually enjoy the business end of things, or would you prefer to just do creative, or do you like the mix?
I'd like a 20-80 ratio, 80 being creative, 20 being business side. But, being a one-person shop, I do the business stuff. I do all the scheduling, the managing of outsourcing when it happens and stuff like that. But that's just because it needs to be done, and I'll do it. But I'm excited about the creative. I do the business because it has to be done.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you don't want Uncle Sam knocking on your door.
Right.
Well, that's cool. So 20-80, that seems to be pretty in line with a lot of creative people I talk to. Most of them don't like running their business, or do they just don't want to do the businessy things. I think that's kind of where I differ a little bit. I get excited about that stuff probably more than is healthy for me. And I think the creative end of things suffers because of that. Because I spend too much time like looking up what an SEP IRA is instead of like doing a Houdini tutorial.
Right.
So yeah. Okay, well that's good. I mean, your work speaks for itself. I mean, it's obvious that you're super good. So that would make sense, an 80-20 split. Okay, are you an LLC or S Corp or any other entity, and why did you choose that?
I'm an LLC, but I believe I'm taxed as an S Corp for some reason. I don't know. I let my CPA just handle all that. I don't I don't understand all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, and this is another reason why I've started doing these. We won't go into it now, but I will link eventually a video up here somewhere describing what an S Corp is and why it's beneficial. What do you look forward to learning in the future? Because I know you've been digging into Houdini a lot.
Yep. I've gotten a lot more comfortable in Houdini. Still have so much to learn. I think the next biggest thing that I want to learn is texturing and substance, because I haven't really dove into that too much. And then just kind of anything. I like to learn organically, just kind of spontaneously. Like if I see something on Instagram, I'm like, oh, that's super cool. I want to figure out how to recreate that. So I'll spend a couple hours and try to learn something. I like doing those little things too.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so what's your ultimate goal for your company? Is it, you're going to work until you're 62 and you're out, or is there any end goal in mind?
No, I don't really have an end goal at the moment. I think what I just try to focus on, because at the end of the day, what I do is also, one of my hobbies. It's something that I really enjoy. So I just want to make the best quality work that I can and work on projects that, I'm excited about. That's really the end goal, I think. I don't, maybe someday I'll get to a point to where I'll retire and not want to do this, but for now, I don't know if that's going to happen.
That's probably the best focus you could have, honestly, because you're genuinely focused on the quality of the content and just making beautiful content. Because I feel like once you hit that goal, which you already are, everything else falls into place, right? Like you're going to stay busy. You're going to make enough money so that all of your other life's goals will just happen. They should, because you're focused on the one thing to make them all happen. So I don't foresee you like losing work. You're gonna stay busy. Someone of your caliber will stay busy. I promise.
Well, thank you very much. That's the plan anyway. So I hope so.
Yeah, definitely. What are there any pain points in this industry for you? Well, what's maybe one or two of the most painful experiences just running your own thing?
I don't know. That's a tough question. I feel like something that I think every creative struggles with is realizing that, we're doing these animations or this vision, or we're executing a vision that somebody else has some of the time. And so trying to figure out the best way to do that and realizing that it's, maybe this isn't the way that I want things to look, but this is what the client wants, and they're paying for it, and it's their project as much as it is mine. So I think finding that balance and being able to work together with people isn't necessarily a pain point, but it can be a challenge sometimes.
Yeah. Do you find that most of your clients are pretty willing to work with you, or are a lot of your clients just like, no, it's our way or the highway?
I've been really, really lucky. I haven't had pretty much any bad experiences with any of the clients that I've worked with. They've all been great and are definitely willing to hear me out. And I think, I try to be as very clear up front and explain to them, our process and how that works, so that there are no surprises. They know what they're getting and they're happy with it. And I'm also happy creating it for them.
Yeah. Okay, like let's say you have a bad project, because I feel like everyone's had them at least once. Are you of the mindset, do you just plow through, like make sure they're happy no matter what it costs you? Or do you get to the point where you're like, nope, you had 4 rounds of revision in the scope, like we're done?
Yeah, I try to be as accommodating as possible. Just to try to be friendly and keep relationships open, and you never want to burn bridges. But there does come a point to where, this doesn't make any financial sense anymore. I'm losing money on this project. You've revised it to hell, and we've gone through 8 rounds. That happens sometimes, and I think communication is key when that situation arises.
Yeah. So, what does that look like I'm thinking of students who might be watching this. Do you have a project brief up front? Do you have a calendar with dates and milestones? are you, is that something you're willing to share? Could you help teach people like what your process might be? Just quickly, you don't have to go into crazy depth.
Yeah, so typically I work through 3 different phases with the client. The concept phase being the first one, where we kind of dial in, the style, what we're trying to tell, any of the lighting, textures, the basic overall look, vibe of the project. And then we move to the storyboard phase, where it's an exact representation of what the high-res animation will look like. All the texture and light and fonts are there, copy is there, as it should be. And then once that gets approved, we move into the animation phase, where since we've dialed in the look and the colors and the lighting and the fonts beforehand, all we're focusing on is how things move, not necessarily how they look. And then we run to the high res once that's approved. So I think communicating that to the client in the beginning and explaining that process is really beneficial for both parties, because the client then doesn't get an animation down the road where they're like, why is this red? I thought it was going to be blue,
Right.
And then it helps me to not go back and forth and have a bunch of different revisions where,
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to animate something if they're stuck on color or texture, like you don't want to put a bunch of work in if you have to re-render all that.
Right.
And you could have aligned on it early.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No, that's great. Well, I mean, okay. So what's like a general rule of thumb, or maybe it's concrete for you? How many rounds of revision do they get per gate or like per milestone?
Sure. Typically when I quote a project, I'll include 2 rounds of revisions per phase. So 2 to the concepts, 2 to the style board, and then 2 to the animation.
Yeah, that seems pretty standard. Most people I've talked to, even outside of our main field, video guys or, graphic designers, even 2 rounds seems to be pretty normal. And, most of us go above that, right? Like you're going to go into round 3 or 4 sometimes, and you're probably going to be happy to do it because it's going to be a good client, but sometimes you do get a stinker.
Yeah, and I think that happens, and that's part of the industry. And again, I think it's about finding that balance where, like, okay, you want me to swap some colors, I can do that for you. Don't worry about it. Let's keep this relationship going. Let's keep this project rolling. So
yeah. When I have clients that I like, good clients, I'm totally happy to go above and beyond. I usually end my emails with something like, I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts and reactions. Please let me know if you need anything revised. It's almost dangerous, right? But I leave that door open that they can keep tweaking. But the reason I do that is because they're respectful and they know that they can't keep me on the hook forever. Like we're not going to get into hundreds of revisions, but okay. Anyway, do you have any sort of efficiencies that you've discovered, and you can plead the fifth on this, but a lot of times I feel like I'm reinventing the wheel here. Like every project has its own unique set of challenges. So do you have any sort of, I don't know, efficiency process that you've just found?
I wouldn't say that I have a process. I think somehow it's just naturally happened this way, but I'll get projects. So I'll get one project and then I'll find that I'll get another one in a month or so or a couple of weeks later, and it'll be in the same vein. So I'm able to repurpose some assets that I'm creating.
Oh, that's cool.
That's been a big time saver, I think, for me. But that could just be luck of the draw. That's just kind of how things have worked out.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have an exact process.
Are you kind of talking about like examples? Like sometimes I'll get clients that ask for examples. Like if you're in the concept phase, right? Mm-hmm. I'll have a client that says, hey, can we see a budget, like an estimate, paired with some examples so we know what we're paying for.
Sure.
In a perfect world, you could just do the project and say, hey, here's how much it costs, but that doesn't happen.
Right. Yeah, and I like to pull reference videos that not only aim the bar really high. So a lot of times I'll pull like man versus machine work or stuff from like ABC, and it's like I'm aiming this high because I want to do that level of work. That's what I want to accomplish. So I'm trying to get the client on board as well, and I think that doing that also just helps everybody get excited about the project and what it could be.
Yeah. And even if if you shoot for them and you come up, maybe it's a little short, right? Because ABC and Man vs. Machine, they've got a pretty big team of people, right? And you're by yourself. So chances are like we're gonna fall at least a little short, but it's still gonna be amazing.
Right. That's the goal for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I feel you, man. I'm in the same boat. That's a great reference. I am in love with ABC. I don't know why. I guess I just want to be Barton Dammer. I need to call him and tell him that. Okay. What do you see Backspace scaling up at all? Do you plan on hiring help, or is it just going to be you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any plans like that right now. It's just me, and I'm content. And we kind of expand and contract right now anyways, just as I get really busy with projects. Occasionally I'll outsource to a freelancer or whatever. If I get busy enough in the future where, it makes sense to hire somebody full-time, I'd look into that, but I'm content with how things are right now, for sure.
Do you ever do interns?
We actually have an intern right now. Yep. Okay.
Good deal. Yeah. Where are you pulling your interns? Like here in Cincinnati, we've got, NKU, DAP program, Xavier. There's a few schools. What's up in Dayton? Or is it remote?
It's a remote internship. She's from DAP.
Oh, cool.
Yep. Her name's Katie. She's doing a wonderful job. Really excited. Our first intern. So it's been a great learning experience, I think, for us both. So
yeah. That's cool. That's awesome. Do you find that you're hand holding a lot, and is it worth your time?
She's been really self-motivated, so I haven't had to do any hand holding with her.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, I definitely think it's worth our time. I've always wanted to do what I can to teach and help people who want to learn. That's always something I'm all about. So
yeah, I want to be more connected to the universities around here for sure with that same goal. Okay. How did you come up with your logo? What is the Backspace logo? What am I looking at?
It's just a B that represents Backspace. That's pretty much all it stands for. But I did pull some inspiration from the ABC logo and tried to kind of put my own spin on it. But I wanted to do that on purpose because ABC was such a great place to work, and it was something, it's kind of where I grew up in the industry. And so I wanted to, pay tribute to that, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's cool. It could be a fine line, right?
Sure.
But I think you're doing it as an homage, so I think that's honorable. Yeah, I didn't know if it was like 2 tape reels. Like at first, I thought it might be like 2 old school like tape reels, but I wanted to hear what your thoughts were.
Yeah, I just wanted to do something clean and simple. And
okay.
That's what it is.
So I don't know if maybe you might have answered this earlier, maybe I missed it. What is Backspace? Like, why that name?
To me, that just literally represents, moving back to a space where I feel comfortable and have a support system and stuff like that. So
that's what
originally I was gonna name the entity, the company, Balance, I think, because I was really struggling to have like a work-life balance, especially dealing mentally with some of the stuff that was happening to me. So trying to find that balance was really important. And then, I thought about it. I had emails set up as like Balance and everything like that. And I was like, oh, this doesn't sound right. It doesn't feel right. So I changed it, and I think Backspace rolls off the tongue a little bit better. And it has kind of a hidden meaning to me that other people wouldn't think of when they hear it.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Balance almost sounds a little yoga-ish to me, or like I almost start to envision like a spa type feel, right?
Yeah, very zen and kind of
yeah, which could work. Or you could make it aggressive, I guess, if you wanted to. But yeah, Backspace is a little more unique, I think, especially now that we know your story behind it. No, yeah, that's cool. All right. Thank you for telling me that. So if anyone out there hasn't already gone, make sure you go to backspace.tv and check out his projects. Is there any one project that you're just super stoked about on there? maybe it's a confidential project that you're not allowed to talk about. You can just say that. We can go no further. But is there one project that you just like are super geeked about?
Sure. There's a few projects that are in the works that I'm really excited to share, but unfortunately I can't share them yet. I will talk about, I did a sales kickoff video for Honeywell, and that was a really fun, it was a little bit out of a style that I typically don't normally do. It's really bright and colorful, lots of patterns and textures and shapes. And the whole gist of the video was that, you know, these data things enter this system and they get broken down into smaller bits and then repackaged with other portions of data and then sent back out. So that's kind of the whole what's happening. For me, that project, I had this really cool idea of a cube that would come down and break apart into smaller cubes, and as it did that, it would change textures. And I was able to accomplish that in Houdini with the help of some friends and some tutorials for sure. But that, for me, that was a big accomplishment because I had never really done anything from start to finish in Houdini, and that was the first project that I was able to do that, and it was a really great feeling. So.
Did you post any of that on social media? I feel like I may have seen some of that.
I did, yeah. It's on my Instagram.
Okay. Tell us your Instagram real quick while we're on the topic.
Sure. It's just at backspace.tv.
Okay, cool. Yeah, follow him, everybody. Let's see here. So you mentioned you were in Houdini. It was like the first project from soup to nuts in Houdini. I was going to ask you what challenges did you face, but holy cow, I mean, Houdini is the answer, right? I mean, yeah. Houdini is the challenge. Yeah, I don't want to talk. I want you to talk more about it. So maybe just give us a quick, like, what is it like in maybe a couple sentences to go from Cinema 4D to Houdini? Like, maybe what's the toughest thing?
It's just the learning curve is really steep. Once you get how the flow of Houdini works, it's really easy to use, but it's totally not the way typical 3D programs work. So coming from Cinema 4D, I had a hard time adapting, and I found myself just in Houdini, and I'm saying, I just want to do this thing. It's a 2-button click in Cinema. How do I do it here? And so I think it's just kind of learning that when you're in Houdini, you have to be in a different mindset.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's kind of like Substance versus Photoshop for me.
Okay.
And I am by no means a Substance master at all. But yeah, there are things in Substance I'm like, why is this so difficult? Why can't I do this? Like, you could do it in 2 seconds in Photoshop. And then it's because like I just don't know what the software wants me to press to do the thing. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I need to learn Houdini myself, but gosh, it is a monster to tackle. It just seems overwhelming, but you're doing a great job. Okay. Do you think you'll ever expand into other areas? I mean, I'm getting the vibe that you'll probably want to stay the creative and be the artist the whole time, but do you ever look forward to managing or hiring people?
Yeah, it kind of reflects on my answer earlier. Just I want Backspace to grow kind of organically if it's going to grow at all. And so if that happens, if I need to hire people or move into more of a managerial role, I'll definitely do that. But like I said, for me, doing the creative is my hobby. That's what I enjoy. So I don't think I'll ever stop doing that. But I could see moving into more of like a managerial role if that happens.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think you'll face any challenges with that? I mean, I know you're gung-ho about just taking it on as it comes, but are you like an introvert? Do you like have trouble managing people if you've ever been in that position?
I am an introvert 100%, but I think I do okay. I think I'm a good communicator, I hope.
Yeah.
So I think just as long as I'm able to communicate with people, I think will be useful.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to get Katie's take on that.
Yeah, she might have other words. But, and I'm sure there's challenges I'll face. I mean, in that department, I'm still, pretty green. I don't That's not an area that I grew up in, that I've spent multiple years in. So
right. Yeah. A little story for you. I worked at LPK for a couple years, and my manager was kind of telling me like, oh, we see you, you have these skills, and we really like you, and we want you to become like the head of this department. And I was only like 25, 26 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember saying like, isn't that for people like in their 40s? Like, shouldn't I spend like the next 10 years like becoming really, really good at my craft and then like becoming a manager? And I remember like learning the lesson kind of the hard way. They're like, no, you don't have to. Like, why would you put that off? Like, they basically taught me to let go a little bit and be comfortable with like managing a team.
Sure.
Because the way my manager put it was, she said, you can only do this much on your own, but if you had a team of 5 people, imagine what you can accomplish. She's like, you've got the vision, like, what you want done. You just need people to help you get there. I'm like, oh yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So enough about me. Let's go back to you. This is just a general overall thing. What are like 3 core principles in your life? Like, if there are just maybe a couple things that just matter the most to you.
Sure. I think at the risk of sounding pretty cliche, I think one of the principles that I really strive for is to work hard all the time. There's always something to learn, whether it's a failed project or a project that went super smooth and is the best thing you've ever done. You can still learn from it. And so I think you can always be learning, always learning new software, new trends, and it's endless. And then I think the third thing is just to have fun, to enjoy the process. And I really do try to like live by that, I guess you could say. Or maybe that's just my personality, but I work hard because I enjoy what I'm doing and I like to learn. So, it's kind of a trickle down effect, I guess.
No, I think this is important too for students to hear, because the people who are going to be most successful in this field are the people like that. You have to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it, get out early. Like, don't waste your time.
For sure.
And then even beyond that, if you're not hungry to learn more and like constantly just gobble up tutorials, and like if you're not going home, after work or after school and doing a tutorial, you're going to have a hard go of it. I think it's the guys and the girls that are doing that, right? It's the Katies of the world who are self-motivated, and they're just learning as much as they can on their own. Those are the people who are going to succeed. I mean, even you, right? Like offering to move to Texas, like making nothing, and work for Barton. Like, that's awesome. And that is totally worth the investment. Like, you give up, what'd you say, 30 days?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you gave up a month of your life to put yourself on like the best possible trajectory.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're talking about finance, like that is insane ROI, right?
Definitely.
I mean, you like 30 days is nothing. Like, anyone should be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe not everyone, because I know you have to have some money to eat and sleep and live. But if you can do that, you should, because it will put your life on such a good trajectory. I mean, go work for the best in the business like you did.
Yeah.
And I would say ABC's right up there. You've mentioned Man versus Machine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hell, if you can do it, go work for the Mill, Imaginary Forces.
Any of those people for sure.
Yeah. Just do it. But anyway, coming full circle, I think it's the people like you and Katie. I'd like to count myself in that bucket too, but you gotta be motivated, and you gotta be hungry, and you gotta enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like, especially for any students that are out there, tell me if you feel this way, but I do. I watch tutorials all the time, but just because you watch them all the time doesn't mean you have to like retain all of that information. I'm constantly working on projects and I'm like, I saw a tutorial about how to do this thing that I want to do somewhere. Let me go see if I can find it again. And then you rewatch it. And that's just happens all the time. But it's good to at least initially watch it, even if you don't absorb it, because then you know that it exists and you know that it could be done and you can execute your ideas.
Yeah. Or there'll be like some weird 5-second little like nugget of information. You're like, whoa, like it's not even the reason you're watching the tutorial, but they do something. You're like, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. That just happened recently. Luke posted something in the Polymath Slack channel. What was it? The magnet tool or something? I don't remember.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Yeah, and we were all like, "What?" We like no one knew that tool existed. Like all of our minds were blown. Segue into community. That you should join a local community. So here in Cincinnati, we've got the Polymath Slack and the Cincinnati Motion Meetup Slack. But wherever you guys are, you know, if you're a student or if you're a professional in the field, join a community because we all help each other. Constantly posting questions and helping each other. It's amazing. And I don't know many other fields that do that. You know, I don't see plumbers or mechanics out there like, oh, you know, here, let me come help you. Like that doesn't happen. Okay. So outside of work, outside of animation and Backspace, what can people find you doing? Like what are you doing for hobbies?
Sure. I really like to cook. I like going on walks and hikes. I'm a big video game enthusiast, so I play a ton of video games. I play music. I do a lot of different things. I like to, you know, expand my horizons and try a bunch of new stuff.
Is it fair to call you a polymath?
Doesn't that imply that you have to be good at all those things? Because I don't know if I'm a good cook or anything like that. I just enjoy it.
I don't know. We're going to award you the badge anyways, because I mean, yeah, you know, you're doing so many things. What are you playing? What music, you know, are you playing guitar?
Yeah, so I have a guitar. I play the piano as well. And I've been trying to learn like I don't even know what you'd call it, like audio editing, to like composing and kind of creating, like producing music, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm still definitely pretty garbage at that, but hopefully I'll get better.
Okay, so a little aside here. Do you ever compose custom music for your animations, or do you have that done?
I have that done currently. I've never done it myself, but I would like to experiment with doing that. That's kind of the whole reason I got into it. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah. How do you go about audio with a project? Well, I'll just tell you what I normally do and let me know what you do because I'm interested here. A lot of times I will pick a track ahead of time. You know, I'll send my client maybe 3 options or more options even sometimes, but you know, it's from like Premium Beat or something similar. And it's a fixed, you know, 30-second track, 15, 1 minute, whatever it is, but it's like fixed. And then once we get approval on that sucker, like it's locked. Like I'm not touching that audio track. And then what I'll do is like I'll edit or do things, you know, I'll animate to the beat and I'll make the animation fit the music. The older I get and the more people I talk to, that seems to be backwards compared to what like a lot of people do. So what do you do?
Yeah, I think I definitely do it the other way around. I'll do all my animations first, and I don't send sound off or the video out for sound until I get like a first pass at like a low res. And once I have that, then I kind of dive into music, and I'll usually have the audio guy that I use. He'll cut like a music track to the length of the spot, and then we'll send like 3 options if we're doing like a stock track, and then I'll usually add in a layer of like sound effects on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually haven't done it that way, and I want to. We had a project earlier this year that was going to be kind of big, and we had started on it, you know, brought on an actual like creative director, like assembled a team because it was going to be a pretty big deal.
Nice.
And we got like basically all the way through the concept phase. We were lining everything up. We were going to have custom music composed, all this stuff. And the client pulled the plug on the project.
Yeah.
But they at least paid for our time up to that point, which was really kind of them, you know, because yeah, I looped in, you know, a small team of people and they all had some hours into it. And I can't go back to my people and say, sorry, didn't get the project. I'm not paying you anything. Like, that's not fair.
Right.
So, okay. Well, cool, man. I think we're just about at the hour mark, maybe a little shy. I know we got started late and that's my fault, but any additional thoughts or things you want to say to people?
I don't think so. No, but thank you again so much. It's really great talking to you, and I learned a lot. I hope anybody listening learned too. It's really great to get for sure.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming on. Give people your website and your Instagram again, or anything else you want them to know.
Sure. It's backspace.tv or at backspace.tv.
Yeah. So for Instagram, check him out, everyone. Also check out ABC, where Mark came from. Okay, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This was a Polymath Artist Spotlight with Mark Wilson, who runs backspace.tv. Thanks again, Mark. And I hope everyone has a good day. All right. Thanks, everybody. See ya.